Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, at least today, my time, tonight, Sharon's time, our guest is Sharon Caplan, who must have a living donor transplant. She's from the UK. She's a Jewish mother of two. She has suffered for a long period of time with Crohn's disease, inflammatory arthritis, Ehlers-Danlos, had over 30 plus operations, desperately seeking a preemptive kidney transplant. Sharon's story starts at the age of 12, where she became the youngest person in Australia diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Crohn's is a chronic inflammatory bowel disease that affects the linings of the digestive tract. Sharon has been dealing with Crohn's for over 40 years. Crohn's disease can sometimes cause life-threatening complications. It can cause abdominal pain, diarrhea, weight loss, anemia, and fatigue. Some people may be symptom-free most of their lives, while others, like our friend Sharon, can have severe chronic symptoms that never go away. Crohn's disease cannot be cured. Medications such as steroids and immunosuppressants are used to slow the progression of the disease. If these aren't effective, then the patient may require surgery. Additionally, patients with Crohn's disease may need to receive regular screening for colorectal cancer due to the increased risk. Sharon has suffered with Crohn's, having 30 plus operations since her childhood, including a permanent ileostomy, removing the colon, a hysterectomy, and a protectomy to remove her rectum. Sharon began to notice symptoms of kidney disease over 10 years ago when she first began to pass kidney stones and having surgeries to remove them. She's also become breathless and had frequent urinary tract infections. She was referred to a nephrologist who, after testing, determined that she was at stage 3 CKD. 10 years later, her CKD has become much, much worse, and Sharon is in need of a kidney transplant, where her only option, according to her physicians, is a living kidney donor. Recent tests have shown that both of Sharon's kidneys are severely damaged. They're not working the way that they should, and she is in stage 5 of chronic kidney disease. In addition, her current Crohn's treatment has stopped working. She's currently consulting with an expert to try and resolve that. Her doctors have determined that because of all of her health experiences, Sharon would be unable to tolerate dialysis. Let me repeat that. Sharon would be unable to tolerate dialysis and must have a transplant, a kidney transplant from a living donor in the form of what we refer to here in the US as a preemptive kidney transplant. Crohn's disease is associated with a higher risk of kidney failure, including chronic kidney disease and acute kidney injury. In fact, research suggests that about 8% of the people with Crohn's disease experience kidney dysfunction compared to less than 4% of the general population. So it does pop up frequently. She is also suffering from other related conditions, including inflammatory arthritis, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which affects the connective tissue. She has said, quote, combining that with trying to live a normal life, trying to look after your family, and trying to be brave is tough. To be honest, I've been in denial the last few years because you just carry on. I haven't been able to work since I got engaged nearly 29 years ago. I look after my family and try and get up every day, and that's it. Sharon has said her symptoms have now gotten a lot worse. Quote, I wake up every morning with swollen hands and legs due to fluid retention. This and constant urine infections are difficult, as both are so painful, as well as suffering from Crohn's disease. I have blood tests from last Monday, and the results were really bad. Now, this comes from an article March 17th of 2024, so it's relatively current. Sharon's doctor has told her that she needs a new kidney now. Quote, my consultant doesn't want me to wait years. He wants to nip it in the bud while I am still strong enough to find a living donor, unquote. So if you're in the UK, please consider my friend Sharon. The next step is to find a match for Sharon, which is more of a challenge because she's had many, many blood transfusions, which means she has developed antibodies. Unfortunately, her family members are either unable to donate because of health issues or because they are not a match. She's told me, I think it was 5 people have tried and not matched her for a possible kidney transplant. Sharon has great motivation to survive. She wants to meet her grandchildren. I want to see my children get married. She has 2 daughters, and I have to hold my grandchildren. That is my dream. If someone gave me that gift, my family and I would be forever grateful for their generosity and kindness. Now, I've done a lot of research on Sharon. If you go to my personal Facebook page for the notification of this broadcast, that's pinned to the top of my page, and you go to the comments section, there's all kinds of information about Sharon, including where you can go to donate to Sharon. If you would like to donate or test to become a live kidney donor for Sharon, please use the email capital ICH-TR.livingdonorcoordinates@nhs.net, and then request her consultant. That's a young man named Neil Duncan. So please give a warm welcome to our guest, Sharon Caplan. Sharon, how are you doing tonight? Or today?
Yeah, I'm okay. It's another day. London is boiling hot for a change. We're having a heat wave. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you for having me to tell my story.
Our good friend Steve Belcher is listening. Thanks for tuning in, Steve. He's telling me I got him up a little early, so sorry about that, buddy. So let's get to questions. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction?
Yes, you did. Absolutely.
Are you a married lady or a single lady?
I am married. I've been married for 27 years. It will be 28 years in September. I've got 2 children that live at home, 2 daughters, 22 and 26, and we live together.
All right. And your husband's name is?
Daniel.
And your children's names are?
I've got Jessica and Olivia.
Okay. I've got Jessica and Olivia. Are those correct names?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your educational history, and your employment experience.
I have a very, very childhood. My dad liked to travel. So I grew up in a bit of London, went to school, but most of high school in Australia and a bit in Canada. But most of my education and growing up was in Australia and Melbourne. And that's where I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at 12 years old. And in fact, I was the youngest person ever to be diagnosed with Crohn's disease at that time in Australia. And apparently I've been written up in books, not that it helps me, but I have been. But nowadays, it is so common to get an very early diagnosis of Crohn's disease. I know so many people that have children that they're much younger than 12 that have been diagnosed. So we've come a long way. with regard to diagnosis.
Okay, and it's my understanding that you are not employed at this time, that you're unable to work. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I don't work at the moment. Unfortunately, combined with the Crohn's disease, with the kidney disease and the arthritis, it makes the fatigue is really tough. And even though my head's saying yes, I can do everything, my body is just unable. So I haven't worked for a while, no, unfortunately.
Let's talk for a little bit about your experiences with Crohn's disease. Approximately when did that start?
When I was a child, I always used to have really bad stomach aches. My mum kept taking me to the doctor. They said, oh, I've got nervous tummy or I've got IBS. Eventually, I got really ill and developed an abscess. And the doctors really looked into it. It took quite a few attempts and they finally diagnosed me. It took a long time with Crohn's disease and I needed surgery at 12 to remove the abscess. And again, the following year, because it came back, I was put on steroids from a young age, which has horrible side effects, especially for a child. Weight gain, changing of the look of your face, and it's called moon face. It's just something that it's very hard to get your head round. When I was diagnosed in the beginning, I remember saying to the doctor, all I was concerned about was, am I going to die and will I be able to have children? I was only 12 years old because I had no idea, nor did my mum didn't really know what Crohn's disease was. Later on in life, we found out it actually runs in my family. And my sister got diagnosed about 5 years ago and my mum about 10 years ago. And I've got relatives, distant relatives that have had it or have had colitis. So it is hereditary, especially in the Jewish religion. So yeah, getting diagnosed at 12 and having surgery pretty much every year until I was about 17 was tough, especially, trying to be at high school at the same time and joining in and, it's hard. It was hard.
How long have you been dealing with this?
God, since I was 12. I'm 52 now, so a long 40 years. Yeah, 40 years.
Over 40 years.
Yeah, but I've had 30 operations, I would say. Yeah, about 30 operations. Had sepsis 5 times. I've had peritonitis when I was 21, when the hospital here in London, I called an ambulance. I was living on my own, and I called an ambulance, phoned my mum, and I said, I'm not feeling right, something's not right. And they took me to the hospital where I was always treated for my Crohn's disease. And unfortunately, the consultant that I had said, oh, there's nothing wrong with you, you've got IBS. And he stuck me on steroid drip for 6 weeks. Unfortunately, at the time, I contracted from the hospital MRSA and E. coli. And after 6 weeks, he told my mum, she's got peritonitis, which is blood poisoning, and we've got to do emergency surgery, and we don't know if she's going to live. And I'm here. I did survive, but that operation, due to the inefficiency of my specialist, ruined my life, really. I've had so many operations since then. I've had scar tissue, I've had bowel resections. I woke up from that surgery and was told and I was only 21, that I'd never be able to eat again. And that I'd need a tube to feed me. And I was determined that wasn't going to happen. So, I trained my body to eat, and I was in the hospital recovering, I remember, for 2 months. And it was hard. It was really hard. And I haven't been well since. And that, I don't know, who knows, that could have contributed to things. I don't know, things trigger things. And since then I've had sepsis, and then I started getting kidney stones. And it's, I got diagnosed about 10 years ago with chronic kidney disease, which came as a shock. I had to have a biopsy on my kidney, and it was just a week before my daughter's bat mitzvah, my youngest daughter. And to be honest, I didn't think I was breathless, but I didn't, because I deal with different pains, severe pain from Crohn's disease and different symptoms, and you kind of just get on with it. And I was just getting on with what other symptoms I had and thought, oh, this is just related to my normal life. So when I was told from the biopsy that both my kidneys were damaged and they were scarred and they both shrunk, and then I had stage 3, I was in denial because I still did everything that I wanted to do. I didn't quite understand. I buried the implications of what it could lead to today. Okay. So, and here we are.
What is your current condition concerning Crohn's? How are you doing lately?
At the moment, unfortunately, I've had the same consultant here who's been wonderful for 16 years. Unfortunately, he's unwell and he's not practicing anymore. So I don't know if you know anything about the NHS system here. It's not going very well. And it's taken me a while to get another consultant. And whilst I have every 8 weeks, I have immunosuppressant therapy, infusions called infliximab. I've had that for years now. I feel that they're not working. It's not working. I feel I've got Crohn's symptoms, things like inflammatory arthritis, which is due to Crohn's disease, can come on when my Crohn's is inflamed. I've got that at the moment. And it's, and you just know your stomach's killing you all the time. You just know that something's not right. So unfortunately, because I'm seeing a new consultant and my next appointment's not till November, even though my nephrologist, my rheumatologist, everyone says that they need to increase my infusions, either in frequency or in like the amount they give me, I can't have that conversation with my consultant until November, unfortunately. So at the moment, my Crohn's disease is not great. I've just had a steroid injection yesterday for my inflammatory arthritis because my joints, unfortunately, it affects your joints, Crohn's disease, and my joints are really, really hurting. So as I said, the mind is able, up here I'm able, but my legs, everything aches me. It's like when you've got flu. It feels like when you've got flu and you're achy all the time. That's what it feels like, with the stomach ache thrown in.
Okay. And it's my understanding that there's no cure for Crohn's disease. Is that also your understanding?
Yeah, that's there is no cure for Crohn's disease. However, the amount of operations I've had, every time I have an operation, they said, oh, you're fine, it won't come back. It's come back. My last operation was in 2017 and I had my rectum removed, and that was one of the most major things that I think I've ever had with regard to all my Crohn's operations, like psychologically, having it was a lot to get my head round. But with regards to operations, they say if I have any more operations regarding a bowel resection, as in cutting what's left of my bowel and joining the good bits back together, that will leave me with something called short bowel syndrome. And that is not something that I want to have. So we're avoiding surgery with a vengeance, and bowel surgery, that is. And, I'm just trying to carry on and find there is no cure, absolutely no cure. And you just have to learn to manage it the best way you can.
You've mentioned that you've had 30 or more surgeries in the past 40 years
Yeah.
since your childhood. You had a permanent ileostomy.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You've had a hysterectomy,
Yeah.
and you mentioned the proctomy. Is that how
Yeah.
you pronounce it?
I can't pronounce that. Yeah.
I want to ask you about some of your other medical conditions. You've had inflammatory arthritis. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I've had that. It started, I would say, about 7 years ago. All of a sudden, I kept going to my nephrologist actually and saying, it's really strange, but my ankles are really hurting me. I can't, I'm getting terrible pain in my ankles. He thought I might have gout, which is all connected apparently, but I didn't. It turned out, he referred me to his colleague, a rheumatologist, and it turned out that my ankles were like really swollen. It was like I couldn't walk. I mean, the pain in them was so severe that I ended up using a walking stick. And this was about 7 years ago. I mean, at my age, to use a walking stick was just unmentionable. I went to see a rheumatologist who figured out that I had inflammatory arthritis and that it was due to my Crohn's disease and probably having kidney disease in the mix as well. All of it mixing together comes, like, it takes its toll on my body. And so when my Crohn's is flared up, I'll get inflammatory arthritis. And at that time, it was in my ankles. So he was trying to find the right treatment. He injected them with steroids, didn't help. He eventually put me on a medication called sulfasalazine. And he said, hopefully you'll feel better after 3 months. It takes 3 months to work. I started to feel better towards the 3 months, but unfortunately, all of a sudden, I had chest pain. I was rushed to hospital and I was diagnosed with pericarditis, pleurisy, and it was eventually found out due, and I had sepsis as well thrown in. It was due to an allergic rare reaction to the sulfasalazine that I was given for the inflammatory arthritis. So yeah, that's been hard to manage. There is a medication that they'd like to try me on. I can't remember the name of it now, but they don't want to throw anything else in the mix at the moment. So at the moment, every 5 months, I've been getting steroid injections if I need them to relieve the pain in my joints. But unfortunately, every time it's worked, unfortunately, I had it this week. Usually it works the next day and it hasn't worked this time. So I'm a bit disappointed, but you know, you have to carry on. You have to carry on.
Understood. Let's talk a little bit about your experiences with kidney disease.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you first began to notice symptoms about 10 years ago and were diagnosed just before your youngest child's bat mitzvah.
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that right?
That's fine.
And you've had issues with kidney stones and surgeries to remove them, breathlessness, and many infections. What is the current condition of your kidneys?
My kidneys are now, they've really shrunk. They're really scarred, both of them. I've dramatically, over I would say the last 6 months, gone from stage 4 to stage 5 very quickly, considering it's taken 10 years to get to this point. My EFGR at the moment is 12. My creatine levels is like 370 something. So I'm breathless. I'm getting urine infections. I'm I'm getting a lot of swelling. I'm getting a bit of itching. Apparently that's part of it. All the toxins coming out. That's not the most horrendous bit, because that's not too bad. It's the swelling. I wake up every day and I'm just so swollen. It's so painful to walk, and it takes like half the day for the swelling to go away, and which doesn't help the inflammatory arthritis. But yeah, at the moment, that's what the situation with my kidney disease is. And while I'm relatively okay to speak to you and to do things like, you know, still, he wants me to, my nephrologist, to nip it in the bud. He believes that I shouldn't have dialysis, because if I do, I will never, ever, my body won't be able to take the strain of having the transplant surgery. And he needs me to, and he really, really wants me to have a live donor rather than a deceased donor, because he's told me a deceased one, especially with all my medical history, I have more chances of rejection. And also, they don't last as long. He said they last about 5 years, where I'll need another one. And who knows if I'll be ever strong enough to have another transplant, or let alone find one, because I've got antibodies. So he really wants me, he's asked me to go on social media and ask as many people as I can reach out to find a live, help me find a live donor, that one person that matches with me. You know, so, but I am being worked up. I have finished my workup. I don't know what you do in the States, but you do a load of tests beforehand, to see if your body can take transplant. I've had all my workup tests now. And my next thing is I meet the surgeon for the second time. He looks at all my results. He okays the transplant. And then I go on the deceased list, which might take a few months to get activated on. Because regardless whether I need a deceased one or not, he's gonna, you know, I'm gonna go on the deceased list, because that's what they do here, you know.
Okay. I understand that there may be some relationship between Crohn's disease and kidney failure. Is that your understanding as well?
That is my understanding, and they thought in the beginning that was related to me, but it's not. They also thought maybe it was some of the medication I was taking, some pain medication sometimes causes kidney disease. That wasn't the case either. They actually don't know why I've got it. They don't know what's caused it. They said I'm a medical mystery. So yes, it's usually associated, if you've got Crohn's disease, it comes together, but not for me.
Okay. We've talked a little bit about this. It's my understanding your doctors have told you that you will not tolerate dialysis. That if you get a transplant, it has to be what we refer to here in the U.S. as a preemptive transplant, transplant before dialysis.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
And you mentioned your kidney function. As I understand it, your kidneys are functioning in the teens.
Yeah, it went down. I just had a blood test 2 days ago, and it was 12.
12%.
Yeah.
Okay, and
but in this, I don't know if it's probably the same in America, but when you're at 15 and you get the same blood test 3 times, you're in renal failure. So 15 or below, then you start testing, and you do all the workup tests. So
and the European number for your GFR is you're at 300. Is that correct?
For the GFR knows EFGFR is 12, and the
12.
creatinine levels is about 370 at the moment.
Okay. And you have talked to your doctors about the need for a kidney transplant. And it's my understanding that they've told you that it must come from a living donor no dialysis. Can you tell us why?
Because because of all my medical history, my Crohn's, what my body has taken a battering since the age of 12 with Crohn's disease, with sepsis, with peritonitis, with inflammatory arthritis, EDS. There's so many things I can name. My body would not be able to go through dialysis and then have the strength or the capability to be strong enough to recover or to even have the operation of a kidney transplant. So they want to nip it in the bud while I'm like this, even, I'm nearly at the, I'm deteriorating, but not quite there. So they want to nip it in the bud, and while I've still got some oomph left in me to have the surgery, because I could be on the deceased list and wait. I mean, someone I know has waited 28 years for a transplant. So,
You mentioned earlier that due to the number of blood transfusions that you've had over the course of your life, you've developed a high level of antibodies, and this is making it difficult for you to find a match. You've had 5 people that tested and failed. Is that right?
5 amazing strangers that have tested, and unfortunately not a match. I've had 2 friends that have tested and not a match. I've had my family that have tested, obviously not a match. Apparently my antibodies are a big problem. But I'm not even getting, there's 6 things, I'm not quite sure what they are, but there's blood type, tissue type, and I don't know what the other things are that have to match. But I know there are 6 things, and the highest I've got so far is someone matching 4 out of the 6. But I need someone that matches a very high 5, and maybe there's a procedure that I can have that they take the antibodies away from me. I don't know what that procedure is, but we've briefly talked about it, to get rid of my antibodies. So if I found like a really high 5, I think there would be a chance that they would look at that. But yeah, I haven't. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, really.
Okay, taking away antibodies, does the term plasmaresis ring a bell with you, Sharon?
No.
Okay, that's what they call that here in the States, plasmaresis.
Okay. Yeah.
And I understand that you're currently listed for a kidney transplant in the UK. I want to make sure I get the name right, with the Imperial College Healthcare NHS Trust.
Yeah, it's Hammersmith Hospital. That's where I'd be having the operation. That's where all the tests, or if anyone gets tested in the UK, that's where they'd be done. The live team coordinator, live coordinators are at the Hammersmith Hospital.
Okay, and just so people understand, in the UK, this is a state-controlled system. In other words, it's not like the United States where we have transplant centers all over the place. This is, and your particular transplant center, what's that location? I know it's near London.
It's in Hammersmith. Yeah, it's near London. Yeah, it's in London. It's in London. It's just in the, it's just near London. So I'm not very good with geography, but yeah, it's in London.
Okay. And I understand your consultant there is a young man named Neil Duncan, what we would refer to here in the U.S. as a transplant coordinator.
Yeah, he's referred to here as a nephrologist, but yeah, I get that. Yeah, I see him, and he'd appreciate the young man reference.
Well, somebody's got to be young. I mean, your Uncle Jim's going to turn 70 in August, so I can't say I'm young anymore. If someone wanted to test to donate to you, they can contact your live donor team at capital ICH.TR, living donor coordinators at NAH.net. That is now streaming across our screen. And if it's streaming too fast for people, go to the comments on my Facebook page to your broadcast, which is pinned to the top of my Facebook page. And that's there, and they can write and ask if they can test for you. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, they just have to email, that is the live donor team, and they say they'd like to test or inquire to test for Sharon Caplan, and my consultant's name is Neil Duncan, and the live donor team do the rest. They will send them forms, whoever's interested, or, you know, and go from there.
Okay. Please describe for us your motivation to get a kidney transplant. Why do you want to do that?
I want to live. I want to experience life more. There's so much more to, you know, to life than staying at home and not traveling. You know, I want to see my children get married. I want to hold my grandchildren please God, one day. I want it's the gift of life someone would give me.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit about your current status as a potential preemptive kidney transplant patient. Is there anyone currently testing for you as a potential donor at this time?
At this time, it's taken, as I said, it's different in this country. It's all state funded. And I first started my social media appeal back in March. It's taken that long for the NHS to get back and test. They're only allowed to test 5 people at a time. So they've tested 5 people. They're not a match, as I said before. They said to me they've got 7 people left on their list because a lot of people have pulled out. But they don't know if they're in the process of contacting those 7 people to see if they're still interested. And I'm supposed to touch base with the live donor nurse next week to see if they're interested. And if they are, then I've got another 5. If they're not, then she wants me to do another social media appeal to get things rolling again. So at the moment, no one's testing. They are in the process. It's a slow process. I'm not the only one they're doing this for. That's why, they're in the process of writing to the people that's left on their list. So I have to follow that up next week.
Okay. I've been looking at some of your efforts that you have made to try and find a living kidney donor. That would include some family members, friends, volunteers, newspaper articles, Jewish periodical. You've been on television. You've done interviews or podcasts like this one.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're doing on social media to try and help find a donor?
At the moment, not. Oh yes, I belong to the Ileostomy Association. So they've written an article about me, which will be in their next, I think, which unfortunately doesn't come out until October, their next magazine, which is sent to all their subscribers. So that's one thing I've got going, but that's not till later on in the year. Other than this, at the moment, I haven't got anything else, but I've got friends that are on the case who have got connections in the media that are trying to get me, connected to people, to see, to help spread the word, really.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been hot. I mean, the first initial, everyone's interested and everyone's, concerned and everyone shares your story. But then, if you keep doing it and you do it, people are not. So, oh, it's her again, So you have to be careful not to overload people with. social media.
Okay. Do you belong to any support or advocacy groups in the UK for Crohn's disease or kidney disease?
Yeah, I belong to the Crohn's and Colitis Association, and they did a little blog on me, which they had online. I also belong to, what's it called, Kidney Research UK, and they shared my blog, so that was good, on their social media. But other than that, that's about it, really. There's not, with Crohn's disease, I kind of know everything about Crohn's, not being arrogant, but I know everything that's about Crohn's disease. I mean, I've lived it for 40 years. I've had virtually every operation. But I belong to the Crohn's and Colitis Association. I belong to the Ileostomy Association. I belong to the Kidney Research UK Association. And that's about it, really.
Well, I want people to understand that you've undertaken a strenuous effort to try and find a donor. You're not the kind of person that just sits at home and hopes for the best. That you've been working.
I've been working really hard trying to explain to everyone what I'm going through, what it's like living with kidney disease and hidden disabilities, in fact, because people don't believe to look at you. They don't believe that you're ill. Even consultants say to me over the years, you don't look ill. I was like, what do you want me to come in with, don't brush my hair or don't put makeup on? I want to feel, nice. And so, yeah, I'm going to make an effort.
Absolutely.
It's hard because people don't understand unless you've been in this situation, and you can't really be as compassionate. You can be compassionate, but you can't understand. You can't be in someone's shoes unless you have been in those shoes.
That's true. That's true. Do you have any final statements that you wish to make to our audience today before we conclude the broadcast?
Just to say thank you for everyone's support. Thank you for picking up my story. I really, really appreciate it. And helping me find a donor will give me, it's a gift. It's a gift. It really, truly is. It's a gift of life. And what more can you say to that?
Well, I've got to tell people I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. And I know that myself and all my friends and the people in my Facebook groups and the people that follow me on all my various platforms, we're going to be sharing your story really hard.
Thank you. I really
the
appreciate
next week or so to try and get that information out there. And I want to say publicly, yours is a tremendous, tremendous kidney story. And I wish you every success in finding a donor. And I want my friends that are out there listening to the broadcast and also the instant replay later on, please share Sharon's story. If you have friends in the UK, share it with your friends in the UK. Share it to your Facebook groups, your kidney groups in the UK. Make sure that we get this known, because this is quite a situation that she's in. She has all these pre-existing conditions. She has kidney failure. She has high antibodies. She's probably going to have to go through extreme matching, very many potential donors before she finds her match. She's probably going to have to go through plasmaresis, what we call plasmaresis here in the U.S., to try and lower her antibody levels. So please get out there and share this broadcast. Let's help our friend Sharon try to locate a donor. I think it's a very worthy thing that she wants to see her two 20-something old daughters get married. She wants to meet her grandchildren. I understand that on a very personal level. So, let's please help our friend. Okay. All right. Well, Sharon, I just have some things I have to button up with my audience, and I've almost kept you a full hour. And I just want you to know I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us tonight in the UK, and sharing your story. And I know you've done a great deal tonight to educate other people and to raise awareness about Crohn's disease, about kidney disease, about your particular issues. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I really appreciate your advocacy, my friend.
And thank you so much for having me. Thank you very, very much for helping me spread the word.
Okay. I'm going to let you go now, Sharon. I'll drop you a note afterwards. I have some things I have to clean up with our audience, but I did once again want to say thank you. What a terrific job that you did tonight.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Thumbs
very much.
way up.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Well, that's our broadcast for Friday. I know we're on a little bit earlier than we usually are, but by the time that our normal broadcast plays, the replay will be ready for you this evening. So you don't want to miss that. Next week, our guest is Suzanne Ruff. She's a fellow AAK peer. She's the author of a book called The Reluctant Donor. She's very, very active kidney advocate. So we're looking forward to talking to her. I want to thank everybody that tuned in or be following us later on this evening or following the replay. And, watch this space because we have some interesting things going on. And I will talk to you again next week. So take care, my friends.